What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we do upload Pokemon Go content related to PvP, so please consider subscribing to the channel if that is of interest to you. And if you're a returning subscriber like Tianyuan Zhang, thank you for the support. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the final sets that got me to rank 10 in Season 4 of Go Battle League, and I'm basically using the same team I featured in one of the previous videos with the Umbreon lead and Double Poison in the back, Beedrill and Tentacruel. Now, when coming up with this team, the meta might be a little bit different than it currently is. At the time, what I was noticing was that there was a lot of Azumarill safe switches happening. So for that reason, I kind of wanted something that would win a lot of leads, but also not lose leads too hard. Ran some simulations through PvPoke, and I found that Umbreon is pretty underused and in general is pretty underrated. And there were a lot of people using ghost types at the time, so I decided to run with Umbreon. And even against matches like Crustle and whatnot, it could still win. So Crustle is something that hurts the back of this line, so I figured that having Umbreon in the lead is pretty good for that. And then against the Azumarill leads where I lose, or even a Charmer lead, those are pretty much the two worst leads for Umbreon, I will have Double Poison in the back to counter that. So I bait out whatever counter they have for that initially, and then have a second Poison in the back to sweep the team hopefully in the end. Now, one of the hardest leads for this team definitely by far is going to have to be Toxicroak. Toxicroak pretty much beats this entire team, and with Umbreon in the lead, there is really no safe swap in that situation for Toxicroak, so very hard to come back from a Toxicroak lead, but I did not really see too many of them at the time of this video. Another very difficult Pokemon to handle with this team is Wormadam Trash in the back, because that confusion damage absolutely destroys both Tentacruel and Beedrill. Keeping Umbreon alive for that reason is kind of important, and playing out the lead definitely requires knowing whether you have to keep the Umbreon alive or not. So overall, I did have a lot of success with this team. Actually ended up going like 20-5, I believe, in the day I hit rank 10, and I do think this team does still have some play. Obviously, it depends on what we're seeing now in the meta. I think Azumarill isn't as common of a safe switch because of all the Tentacruel, but with that said, I do still think this team has play, and let me know if you guys test it out in the comments. So with all that out of the way, please make sure you smash that like button if you enjoy this content, and let's get into the first battle right now. So I'm very excited to be sharing these battles with you guys. Let's get into the first battle here against Sekroth, leading Umbreon into Azumarill. So here we go. A very bad lead for Umbreon. We're going to switch into Beedrill. Beedrill is pretty much the safe swap I was utilizing on this team for the most part, and in this situation we get met by Alolan Marowak. So Marowak obviously is pretty rough and it can tank a drill run, so the opponent doesn't necessarily have to shield here the first time. And when you let the drill run go through here, I was thinking, do I really want to win switch? I was still using this team. It was still a relatively new team for me at the time, so I decided, you know what, let me try and win switch maybe by going 2 shields. Like maybe I'll get a shield here. If not, at least I'll go 1-1 shields if he wants to. He chose to let that go, so at this point I figured I could farm down with Poison Jab, and maybe winning switch is important because I could completely wall Azumarill with Tentacruel. So I said, you know what, let's go for it. Farm down with Beedrill, down 2 shields. Opponent brings in the Azumarill. Didn't think I'd get to a drill run, so I'm just going to throw the Scizor here and let this Azumarill take me out. So now I'm going to bring in Tentacruel, which is absolutely going to wall Azumarill, and it's really going to come down to what they have in the back. How will Umbreon fare? And if it's something we could pretty much wall, it's going to be GG's. And you could see here, he brings in a Sableye. So this is absolutely amazing for Umbreon. So I'm actually going to throw the Acid Spray here, just to make this even easier for Umbreon, and bring it in now. And this matchup is actually a lot more dominant in Umbreon's favor if the Sableye does not have Last Resort. And as you can see, it's not a purified Sableye, so there's no chance of it having Last Resort. So this is actually an even better matchup for us here. So I'm just going to over farm a little bit and throw the Foul Play here. I want to have a Last Resort ready for that Azumarill because, again, the opponent does have shields remaining still, so it's not as dominant of a position for us to be in with Tentacruel. So I'm going to look to throw the Last Resorts here, try to get off as much chip damage as I can onto this Azumarill. And my switch timer isn't up yet, so once my switch timer came up, I thought he was going to throw a Charge Move, but he didn't, so I just threw the Foul Play, sort of panicking. And he does shield now, so now we got both shields gone, and I was thinking about switching to Tentacruel, but I noticed the opponent still wasn't throwing energy, so I'm like, okay, let's just throw the Last Resort then, chunk this thing down even further, make it easier for Tentacruel, and unless he has Hydro Pump, this is going to be really hard for him to come back from, even with all that energy. Throws Ice Beam, which is definitely not the move you want to be going for there, but even Play Rough isn't going to KO here. Hydro Pump would actually be, I think Hydro Pump would be enough maybe. So we do farm down with the Tentacruel, take that match. 1-0 start against the Azumarill lead. So I was pretty happy at this point. I am in boredom here in match number 2. And I'm going to be leading Umbreon this time into a Crustle. So Umbreon into Crustle is actually a pretty decent matchup for Umbreon. Again, my IVs are really bad for my Umbreon. but it gets the job done still for the most part. And a lot of these Crustles don't have ideal IVs either because they just sort of evolved whatever they could find. So here I'm going to throw the Foul Play, and it's very good that we actually see this Crustle here as opposed to in the back, because Umbreon's pretty much the only thing that can handle Crustle on this team. So I'm looking to spend shields here. I want to win lead here. I do not want this Crustle to face anything I have in the back. So at this point I'm going to use a shield, and Scizor is going to come through. And I'm trying to get to this Foul Play here. We do get to it. And the IVs on Crustle are actually very important for this match, because having the extra 1 HP is the difference between getting the charge move there and fainting down. So we do get that. And I'm going to throw the Foul Play here. Foul Play onto the Galvantula. Obviously Galvantula isn't the most optimal thing to see in the back either, because Tentacruel and Beedrill, not very great, but thankfully we did get a lot of damage off on this. And I think here we have to make a call that he's going for lunge, and we call it correctly. That was basically the only win condition I think there, because obviously discharge is going to hurt Tentacruel, it's going to hurt Beedrill. I think the only way we can win is the opponent throwing lunge. Called the bait. He brings in Tentacruel. I'm going to switch out into, he brings in Shadow Victreebel. I'm going to bring in Tentacruel here. Throw the Acid Spray. This is going to lower the defense. And I'm just trying to get this thing as low as possible, and then bring in the Beedrill, which pretty much will wall Victreebel, and we actually simultaneously KO. So we take that matchup there, and we're off to a 2-0 start. Vladdy Lad here in match number 3, battling a couple of rank 10s here. Umbreon into Shiftry. This is a pretty neutral matchup. Shiftry wins in the 2 shields, just going straight Leaf Blade pretty much. So I'm just going to go for the last resort here. Not going to shield up this first one, definitely not going to KO obviously, so letting the first Leaf Blade go through. We're going to put the pressure on the opponent to shield or not. So I'm going to throw the last resort here. Depending on what he does shield, so I'm going to switch out now into Beedrill. And I have 2 things that counter Shiftry here, so I'm totally fine with this. Opponent brings in Marowak, so this is actually really good for me, because now I draw out the Marowak and I could pretty much farm down with Umbreon after the Beedrill goes down. So I don't really feel any need to shield here because I have Umbreon. And I feel pretty comfortable just coming in with Umbreon and basically farming this thing down with Snarl, having a bunch of energy for the Shiftry or whatever else comes back in, and just being in a very good spot here. So gonna let whatever he throws come through. Shadow Ball, not doing too much, and completely farm down. We're at 100 energy now. Wigglytuff comes in, wasn't expecting that, so throw the Foul Play, which is going to be resisted, of course. Switch out into Tentacruel. The great thing here is that Tentacruel actually does really well against both of these Pokemon, so I pretty much just have to preserve my Tentacruel here, and this is basically game over. And because we had 100 energy on Umbreon, I do have a last resort ready in the back, so I could definitely use my shields here, invest them, just make sure that I get rid of the Shiftry, because that's the biggest threat to me. And I should be able to get that Wigglytuff low enough to the point where a last resort will be enough to knock it out. So all I'm trying to do here is survive this, farm down, throw the Acid Spray at the Wigglytuff, and hopefully my switch timer comes up in time to throw the last resort before the Wigglytuff could get to a charge move. So throwing this Acid Spray here, this will definitely put it in position to get knocked out by the last resort. And we have the last resort ready, so I'm just going to throw this, take this game, and we are off to a 3-0 start here. So very happy so far. You could see in each of these games, I was the first person to switch out. And so basically we've given up switch in all 3 of these games and still done quite well. Meal Secor here in match number 4. Beedrill into Umbreon. I don't mind this match. I think this is pretty good for the most part. Again, this is like something where they will have to use 2 shields if they want to win. So just going to let this go through. It is an Scizor. And I'm going to look to throw 2 Foul Plays here. And the real question here is whether or not you want to preserve the Umbreon or just stay in this matchup. So at this point, I know Scizor actually isn't going to KO, so I let it go down here. And I'm actually playing a little bit of a risky game here by allowing my Umbreon to go down here in case the opponent does have like a Ghost type or a Wormadam Trash. I'm putting myself in a really tough spot. He actually switched out into Azumarill trying to farm me down, so I actually left that match with a bunch of energy stored. And now I hardwall the Azumarill here, and we're up shield, so this is pretty much the ideal situation. And you could see just how dominant Tentacruel was at this point of time in the meta. Not sure if it's still this dominant, because I don't know if people are using Azumarill as aggressively as safe switches as they were at the beginning of Halloween Cup, but man, at the beginning, you could definitely have just exploited this strategy with Tentacruel because so many people were using Azumarill as safe swaps. You could see here, throw one Acid Spray, completely farm down, have so much energy stored. Gonna throw the Acid Spray here at the Beedrill. Was hoping for a shield, but obviously we didn't get it. So at this point, I have a decision to make. Do I want to keep it alive? He actually goes for Scizor, which doesn't KO, and that's going to allow me to get to a second Acid Spray. And at this point, this actually is going to knock out the Beedrill. I was totally fine with letting the Tentacruel go down there, but I brought in the Beedrill there to ensure that I farmed down the opposing Beedrill before he got to a charge move because he had about 1 HP left. So I made the very aggressive swap there with Beedrill to farm down, and he has an Alolan Muck in the back. I'm just going straight Drill Run here because obviously I have 2 shields, so there's no point to be baiting here because even if he does shield, we could outpace him to the next one. So just go straight Drill Run there. The only win condition for the opponent is basically me going for Scizors repeatedly for no reason. So Shield of Dark Pulse here, and we should actually be able to farm down at this point, take that match, and we're off to a 4-0 start here. Marimo 1403 in the 5th match of this set. And we're going to be leading Umbreon into Wigglytuff. So Charmers are obviously very bad for Umbreon, but because we have double poison, I actually don't mind this at all. I bring in Beedrill here and we see the first Mandibuzz. I think this was the first Mandibuzz I saw in like all of Halloween Cup so far. Definitely hasn't been too prevalent, but I definitely think it has a lot of play in this meta. Gonna throw Scizor here. Obviously Scizor isn't doing anything to Mandibuzz, but options are pretty limited at this point. And Mandibuzz is going to win this match, so there's no point to invest any shields. Oh, I do invest this shield, okay. So actually, at the time, I wasn't sure how this match played out, so that's why I shielded. I think shielding there is kind of a mistake, obviously, because we're going to lose regardless. So that's definitely something you don't want to do, but something I did do there. And you could see here, we're not going to win this match, but we do force the Mandibuzz to throw energy or else we get to another Scizor, so not too bad. And at least now it's in farm down range for Snarl. This is an insanely aggressive Snarl, obviously. So we're going to be here for a while, but I resist. Well, I don't resist the Air Ace, but Air Ace is such a bad move, and I resist the, I think it's Dark Pulse that it has, or Foul Play. So there's nothing really that threatens me too much here with Umbreon. So I'm just going to tank these, farm up to 100 energy, and have that stored for whatever he decides to bring back in, which I assume is going to be the Wigglytuff, right? So I'm going to throw the Last Resort here. I'm actually going to try to throw 2 Last Resorts because that should be enough to actually knock out the Wigglytuff almost. And he's going to be forced to use a shield at some point if I throw back to back. So here's the second one. He does choose to shield that. Now I'm going to switch out into Tentacruel. We're even shields here. Tentacruel is a great matchup, obviously. He brings in Muck. And I think here, just got to go for the nuke. Hope he doesn't shield, because that's pretty much the only way we're going to win this game. He lets it go through, which is absolutely amazing. And at this point, I actually think we could shield this up and commit to the farm down. And I think this Muck is actually running Poison Jab as opposed to Snarl, so that's the reason why we could farm down there with Poison Jab. Because if he was running Snarl, there's no way we'd be able to do that. He'd outpace us. But taking advantage of the Poison Jab Muck there and throw this Aspirate the Wigglytuff, take that game, 5-0 in the first set, and we're going to move up from 2900 into 2950 range. So rank 10 was in sight at this point, and I was hoping I would be able to hit it that day. 7-7-8-9-9 here in the second set, match number 1. I believe we're at 2959 elo right now. So Umbreon into Gengar, love to see it. Opponent switches out into Beedrill. I don't really have a hard counter for Beedrill here, so what I'm going to look to do is actually throw 1 Foul Play before switching into my own Beedrill, just to soften up their Beedrill, ensure that I maintain switch, and then I'm going to look to align the Umbreon onto the Gengar. So bring in Beedrill now. And I'm going to build up. I actually didn't get to a Drill Run, so if the opponent is counting, he's going to know this is an Scizor. And Scizor will not KO, so a good no shield there by the opponent. And at this point, even Drill Run won't KO, so I'm okay taking this. And I think we should be able to farm down at this point. Yeah, we do farm down, so that's really good. And now I should be able to throw a Drill Run at the Gengar. And I don't think there's any point to bait here because he's going to farm us down, so just go straight for the Drill Run. I'm not going to get to a second move anyways. So definitely go for the Drill Run there. If he lets it go, he's going to get KO'd. Bring an Umbreon here. And at the time, Focus Blast wasn't really a threat for Umbreon, but I shielded just because I knew how dominant position I was in. Brings in a Azumarill, Tentacruel comes in, and opponent backs out. But going back to Gengar, Focus Blast, I've seen a lot more people running it lately on their Gengar, so you do have to be a bit more careful with Umbreon. but for the most part, Sludge Bomb is pretty necessary, so a lot of people will be running Shadow Punch, Sludge Bomb. Here in this next match against Skullhound, we do see another Azumarill lead, so you can see the leads aren't too favorable for us for the most part. Bring in Beedrill as a safe swap, get met by a Shadow Mawile, which is obviously a huge threat to me. And I actually baited with the Scizor, and that allowed me to get to this second drill run. So that forced the opponent to burn both shields there in order to maintain switch. And now at this point, I could just come back in with Umbreon. Obviously, Umbreon versus Mawile isn't a great situation either, but because he has no shields, pretty good spot. Was expecting the power-up punch there. Definitely took a chance, because if that was a play rough, would have definitely hurt. But power-up punch goes through. I think after the power-up punch comes, like, now it would make sense to go for play rough because it is boosted. So I didn't want to take that chance. Actually ends up being an Iron Head. Totally fine. Gonna throw this foul play right away because these fire spins are actually starting to really add up. And we finally get rid of that Mawile. Opponent brings in a Azumarill. I'm gonna switch out into Tentacruel. And we're met by an Umbreon. So I had a decision to make here. Do I go for 2 Hydro Pumps, or do I try going for the Acid Spray, which is less energy, and then 1 Hydro Pump on a debuffed Umbreon? I decided I was gonna go the route of going for the Acid Spray first, lowering the defense, bringing it down more with Poison Jab, and then hoping I can knock it out with the Hydro Pump. So that's what I'm doing here. Let's see if it pays off. Foul Play comes through. I choose to shield at this point because I need some health on this Tentacruel in order to beat the Azumarill. Hydro Pump now should definitely be enough to knock out Umbreon, especially with the defense drop. So that goes down. Azumarill comes back in here. And obviously it can't knock us out here, so we're going to get a lot of damage off with these Poison Jabs. And hopefully I can at least throw 1 Acid Spray here. I will get to the Acid Spray, so this is really good for us. And at this point, Last Resort should actually be doing quite a bit to Azumarill. So I was thinking of maybe sack swapping and keeping my Tentacruel alive, but then I decided, you know what? I should just stay in here because he's going to be forced to throw energy, or else I'll get to another Acid Spray. So that's what I did. Now I know he's dry on energy, trying to get to the Last Resort, but I figured, you know what? It's a bit too risky. With the defense drop, Foul Play should be enough, so let's just hope. And it just is enough to knock out the Azumarill because of the Acid Spray defense drop. Foul Play there. Big win. 2-0 going up against Angelino 5-1-1 here in match number 3. Another Azumarill lead. So again, a lot of Azumarill leads here. Bring in Beedrill. You could see how double poison works pretty well here. Get met by a Crustle. Crustle is very difficult in the back here. Thankfully, we are going to be able to bring back an Umbreon to deal with this. And we did get the shield there, which is really good. Can I get to the second drill run? We are able to. This is huge for us. Definitely doesn't have to shield on the opponent's end, but going to bring it really low and put us in a good position with Umbreon here. So I'll let my switch timer go up. And Umbreon coming back in. Gonna take a couple X Scissors here, totally fine. So X Scissors does a decent chunk, but Umbreon is so tanky. I love bulky Pokemon because they seem to perform really well in blind formats. Another X Scissor, you can see they're starting to add up. So at this point, I don't want to take another one, so I'm deciding to throw the Foul Play here. This should be enough to knock out the Crustle, and I'm hoping to switch right away as Azumarill comes in, bring in the Tentacruel, get met by Galvantula. Obviously very difficult for us. I'm going to throw the Acid Spray here. But we do have 2 shields, so hopefully this isn't too bad of a situation. This is still very difficult. Opponent's going to throw here. Probably going to be a Lunge. Lunge would probably be the correct move at this point. It is, so it's going to lower my attack. And I just have to shield here again. Hope I could farm down. If this is another Lunge, it's going to make it very difficult. And because he did Lunge me twice, I actually don't want to throw this energy at Azumarill, but I need to throw in order for my switch timer to come back up. So I'm looking to throw 1. Just hoping my switch timer comes up as soon as possible. Bring back in Umbreon. This is a very tough spot. I need to get off this Last Resort here. And this is Azumarill. I feel like it almost should commit to a farm down here to have a chance of winning this game, but it does use its energy. And at this point, if I could get to another Acid Spray, I should be good. And we do beat it to the next charge. Acid Spray is enough to win this game. I think if the opposing Azumarill maybe committed to a farm down, could it beat my Umbreon to the Last Resort? It would have been very close, but either way, a very good win there. Antonio 17, match number 4. We were 41 points out of rank 10 at this point, so I didn't necessarily think a 4-1 would be enough. So definitely had to win this match and the next one. Qwilfish here against Umbreon. Pretty good matchup for Umbreon, to be honest. Aqua Tail comes through. I've seen a lot of them throw Sludge Bomb, which tends to be a bit worse for me, but I like it when they go Aqua Tail, so I'm just going to throw the Foul Play here. I do not shield anything from Qwilfish until they start pressuring my shields by using their own. So another foul play comes through here. We're starting to get in range now where a Sludge Bomb actually would be enough to knock us out, but I don't think he has enough energy to get there. Either way, I'm going to shield up. Aqua Tail comes through. Sludge Bomb would KO like I said, so wanted to shield up there. This Aqua Tail will not KO, and this is where the IVs start to play a role because mine are really bad. So I'm going to throw the foul play and the opponent actually decides to double shield. And this should usually be a very comfortable win for Umbreon, but you could see literally half an HP and a dream here because of how bad my IVs are, but we do manage to take it. We win switch and maintain a shield advantage, but we get met by a Scizor. And at this point, I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? So I bring in Tentacruel because I know Hydro Pump will knock it out. Has Shadow Vic in the back, so this is absolutely incredible for me because I could just bring in Beedrill here. And I did not want to throw this move as a CMP tie. If he didn't throw that move, then I'd be fine with it. But because we lose CMP, I didn't want to. So I press no bubbles here. Want to farm down completely and have a drill run ready to go for that Scizor in the back. So there's the drill run. It's going to do a lot of damage to the Scizor and it's going to farm me down for sure. But I should be able to get to a Hydro Pump, which will be enough to knock this thing out with the Tentacruel. Definitely has a lot of energy stored though. So at this point, I know it's going to be a Night Slash. And as long as I don't get the boost, I'm good. So I just decided to shield here. He gets the boost, of course, but we're able to beat it to the Hydro Pump. Yeah, I wanted to save the shield just because if he does get the boost to shield the second attack heavy one, but I honestly felt there was no way he was going to get the boost, but you know, it is what it is. He got the boost, but fortunately we still pulled it out. And last matchup here against Trent, SZCS, rank 10 gatekeeper here, trying to gatekeep me out of hitting rank 10, Umbreon into Crustle. So again, I was pretty happy to see this at the time because I knew it's a lead I could win, and I want to get Crustle out of the way. Better to see it here than in the back. So opponent's going to throw his energy here. X Scizor. Totally fine. I'm going to throw a foul play. Actually, I have enough stored for 2 foul plays here, so I'm going to throw this first one and look to throw back to back. And the opponent actually chooses to switch out here into a Azumarill. So a good catch on their part, but I was really thrilled to see this because I know I got Tentacruel here. And boom, there it is. Tentacruel in the back, going to punish this Azumarill safe swap. Going to throw the Acid Spray and just commit to a straight farm down from that point. So here, Hydro Pump is actually on this opponent's move pool. So he does throw Hydro Pump, and here, you know, this was just anxiety getting to me and like the excitement of potentially in rank 10. This is an Ice Beam. There's no way this is a Hydro Pump, but I didn't know at the time because I wasn't counting. So I shielded just in case it was a Hydro Pump, but there was no way it could be because rewatching this video, it was only 5 bubbles. So it had to be an Ice Beam. So definitely a misplay there, but you know, I was getting very anxious at this point. Throw the Acid Spray at the Crustle, which I could not believe he did not shield there. It was almost as if he was like trying to lose. Paid actor, but a very good call. X Scizor comes through. Another great swap into Tentacruel, but I actually like this because this is going to lower the defense here. And now I bring in Beedrill, which has a very good matchup actually against Tentacruel, but the opponent does still have 2 shields. So I figured I have to bait here. I have to get a shield because obviously with the defense drop, Drill Run's going to KO. So we do get the first shield. And I think at this point, 2 Drill Runs should be enough. Here you have to call the Hydro Pump. I do call the Hydro Pump. It is not a bait. That's huge for us. Should be able to outpace it out to 2 Drill Runs. This is pretty much the game right here, whether or not we outpace it to the Hydro Pump. Get the first shield, get the second Drill Run. This is huge. Going to knock out the Tentacruel here. And I know Crustle's going to come back in. My switch timer is almost up as well, so it can't farm down. I'm going to switch instantly into Umbreon here. And I just need to get to a foul play, and this is pretty much game over. We're at the foul play now. The opponent's going to throw the X Scizor. This actually will not knock out Umbreon. And I have the foul play ready. I'm clicking it. I'm clicking it. What is that lag? And these were the most important 11 seconds I had to take in GBL this season. Just to calm down and realize I still have the game won. Don't freak out. Go in with Beedrill and farm down. Everything is fine. And not tilt at that lag. We take the win. We go 5-0. 10-0 run to hit rank 10 with this Umbreon led team. Double poison in the back. And honestly, what a journey it was in Season 4. Getting to 2980 2 times. Once 2 weeks ago, choking. And we do it this time. 3017. Click the poses there. No new clothes for this season, but that's totally fine. And yeah, rank 10. So those were the battles that got me to rank 10 this season. I really enjoy Umbreon as a lead. I think it's a very strong Pokemon, very underappreciated thus far in Halloween Cup, and it has a lot of play as you saw here. Even losing leads against Charmers and Azumarill, we were able to come back against those teams because of the strong court in the back. Obviously we didn't run into any Wormadam trash here, because that would have posed a big problem. But other difficult things like Galvantula, you could see we still were able to win. Maintaining shields and kind of just knowing when you need the shields versus when you don't is very important with this team. Especially if you're going to lock on the Azumarill to Tentacruel, you know you could go down in shields because that's such a dominant matchup. But if you're kind of like in a position where you have Umbreon lead and you win the lead but just barely, don't know what's in the back, you might want to preserve shields just in case you need them for a matchup that isn't too favorable for you. And I think that's one of the ways to play this team effectively. If you guys have any questions about this team or pretty much anything else related to Pokemon Go, let me know in the comments section. Let me know what kind of spice teams you guys want to see me run now that I have hit rank 10. Definitely could relax a bit for these last 2 weeks and not really stress about whether or not I will make it to rank 10. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.